He was the most trusted man in every room he entered. Not the richest, not the most connected, but every senator in Venice believed Marco Venier was fighting for them. And all of them were right to believe it. That was his gift. Nobody compared notes. Venice in 1498 ran like a machine with teeth. 200 noble families, one council that controlled everything, trade routes, wars, marriages, who lived and who quietly disappeared. Inside this machine, a young man was rising faster than anyone had in 50 years. He had one talent, one devastating, irreversible gift. He could walk into a room where 10 people wanted 10 different things and leave with all 10 convinced he'd been arguing their case. He never committed first. He asked. He listened. He reflected back exactly what each person needed to hear. Not flattery, something more dangerous. Thoughtful agreement. You walked away from Marco believing he understood your position better than you did. And maybe he did. That was the unsettling part.
The ghost of Marco Venier. I assumed you died, or been elected pope.
Lorenzo. I know. It's been... I should have come sooner.
2 years, Marco. 2 years of silence from the most connected man in Venice. What finally dragged you down here?
Today I needed to talk to someone who isn't trying to figure out what I mean.
Sit down. Don't touch anything. You'll burn that coat. Here, hold this.
What am I holding?
Nothing important. Something that breaks if you grip it too hard.
That bad?
2 senators want to destroy each other over a trade route. Both came to me. Both think I'm their man.
And which one are you actually helping?
That's not how it works.
Look, I understand why you do it. I'm not stupid, Marco. This city eats honest men alive. Half the senators on that council are there because they learned to say the right thing to the right person at the right time. And you're better at it than all of them. Maybe the mask is what keeps you alive. Maybe without it, you'd have been destroyed years ago. I can see that. But that is exactly how it works. Someone asks whose side you're on, you answer them. That's how friendship works. That's how being a person works.
Marco told him some of it. Not everything. Even with Lorenzo, he edited now. A habit he couldn't switch off. 2 factions on the council were at war over a trade route to Constantinople. The Morosini family wanted exclusive control. The Contarinis wanted open access. Both had come to Marco privately. Both believed he would argue their case. Marco handled it the way Marco handled everything. He spoke for 40 minutes without committing to either position. Praised the Morosini logic. Acknowledged the Contarini tradition. Then proposed what he called a compromise. In reality, a third option that benefited a smaller family he'd been quietly building a relationship with for months. Both sides voted for it. Both believed Marco had fought for them and been forced to settle. Neither realized they'd been outmaneuvered by a man who never once raised his voice. He was promoted to the council's inner circle that evening.
In your world, maybe. In mine, the moment you show what you actually want, you hand everyone else a weapon.
That's what worries me.
I'll handle it. I always handle it. Never mind.
What? What did you almost say?
No, it doesn't matter.
Marco, what were you going to say?
That night, at the celebration, Marco moved through the grand hall the way a conductor moves through an orchestra. A word here, a laugh there, a hand on the shoulder at exactly the right moment. Every interaction tuned to its audience. He was magnificent. And I need you to hear what I mean by that, not sarcasm. He was genuinely magnificent at this. That's the whole problem. And then something happened that Marco had not planned for. Lorenzo walked in. Still in his work clothes, soot on his sleeves in a room full of silk. He didn't come to make a point. He came to celebrate his friend. But what he saw wasn't a celebration. He watched Marco shake hands with Senator Morosini. Warm, grateful, conspiratorial. Then, 30 seconds later, shake hands with Senator Contarini. The same warmth, the same gratitude, the same conspiracy. Distributed perfectly, like light through a prism. Lorenzo waited until the room thinned. Then he walked over.
Can I ask you something?
Of course I meant it. Lorenzo, of course I meant it.
When you smiled at Morosini just now, did you mean it? When you smiled at Contarini, 30 seconds later, same smile. Did you mean that one? When you smiled at me, when you saw me across the room and your face changed, was that real? Or was I just another room you walked into?
I don't know. I don't remember which one is real anymore.
That is the line. Not the one you read about, not the one strategists debate over wine, the one nobody warns you about. Because by the time you cross it, you can't see it behind you anymore. Every tradition understood the power of the mask. Conceal your intentions, shape perception, control the room. None of them wrote the chapter about what happens when you reach for your own face and can't tell where the mask ends. Marco Venier served the council for 23 more years. He became one of the most influential diplomats in Venetian history. Lorenzo visited less, then stopped. In Marco's personal journal, found 300 years later in a flooded archive, there is one entry, undated. The handwriting shakes. L asked me which smile was real. I have thought about this every day since. I am beginning to fear the answer is none of them. He wrote a letter when he was 53, 20 years after that night. It said, "You asked me a question once in a hall full of masks. I want to answer it now. Every smile I gave that night was calculated, except the one I gave you. But I understand why you couldn't tell the difference. I had made them all look the same. That was my achievement and my punishment."
Was that real? Or was I just another room you walked into?
He never sent it. Not because he was afraid, because by then he wasn't sure the words were true, or whether this was another performance, a mask of vulnerability, the appearance of honesty, crafted to make himself feel better about 20 years of silence. When you've performed for long enough, you lose the ability to verify your own sincerity. That's not a metaphor. That is the actual cost. I keep thinking about this story. I think about it because someone I care about is doing the same thing right now. Different century, same pattern. Someone braver than me tried to tell him. Directly, no metaphor. He didn't hear it. So I'm telling it this way instead. The mask works. Remember that. It actually works. That's the problem. He's changed how he enters rooms. I noticed it last week. He doesn't see who's watching yet. Chanukya wrote, "A person should not be too honest. Straight trees are cut first." But he also wrote, "A person should not be too crooked. Nobody builds a house with twisted timber." Where's the line between knowing how to work a room and no longer knowing who's working it?